Hello everyone, this is part 18 of What If Naruto Was Trained by Anko, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. 2 weeks had passed since Naruto had encountered Jiraiya and learned how to summon. Naruto was now on his way to meet up with the rest of Team 8 like they had promised. He was impatient to see them again and wondered how much stronger they had gotten. He had been training on speed and trying to find a way to deal with Gaara's sand. After a brainstorm session he had come up with some kind of plan, but a lot would depend on luck. He would also have to find a way to alter one of his jutsus just for that, but this was one thing he was planning to do anyway. He just didn't expect having to do it in a month, and so far he had come up empty-handed. He also worked on improving his stamina because he would have to evade the sand for a long time, so that would very tiring. Arriving at the training place he saw that Kiba and Akamaru were already there, so he quickly made his way over. "Hey Naruto, how have you been?" Kiba asked while Naruto petted Akamaru on the head. "Hey Kiba, I'm fine. Training is going well, I guess. How about your training?" Naruto said, glad to see his friend again. "Akamaru and I have been training like crazy, but it's going as good as it can be, I think," Kiba said, reflecting on his training for the past 2 weeks. "Yeah, I'm sure you'll be stronger by the time of the finals. Still kind of sucks that you and Shino have to face each other in the first round already," Naruto said. "Don't worry about it, Naruto. Kiba and I will give it our all and no hard feelings afterwards. Right, Kiba?" Shino said from behind both of Naruto and Kiba, startling both of them. "Shino, don't do that. You scared the hell out of me. When did you get here?" Kiba exclaimed, holding his hand over his heart. Naruto nodded, indicating that he too had been surprised by Shino's sudden arrival. "A shinobi should never let the guard down," Shino simply said. "Have any of you seen Hinata? I wonder how her training is going," Naruto asked, curious about his teammate. "I haven't seen her, but Kurenai-sensei told me that she's doing great in her training. She also said that Hinata had made 2 new friends recently," Kiba said. "2 new friends? Wonder who that could be," Naruto said, glad that Hinata had made some friends of her own. She was always too shy in his opinion. She had changed a lot in these past few months and she had really opened up to the rest of Team 8, but around other people she still was a little shy. "Look over there and you'll have the answer you're looking for," Kiba said, pointing towards the entrance of the training field. Naruto looked at where Kiba was pointing and saw Hinata talking and laughing with not only Ino but also Sakura. From where he was standing they were laughing and having a good time, and Naruto couldn't be happier for the 3 of them. The fact that the 3 of them seemed to get along pretty well would benefit all of them in his opinion. Sakura and Ino would become a little more serious about training and they would pull Hinata with them on some of those female things only. "Hey you 3, you seem to have a good time," Naruto said. "How have you been, Naruto-kun? How's your training going? I bet you have become much stronger already," Hinata said. She knew that Naruto always performed best when he was pressured. "Training is going okay, I guess. Hopefully you'll be ready to face Gaara. How about you, Hinata? Will you be ready to fight Neji?" Naruto said, knowing that Hinata was slightly worried about fighting her cousin. "I'm sure that you'll do fine, Naruto-kun. According to Kurenai-sensei, my speed has gone up a little, but it still need a lot of work. No worries though, I'll show him that I can be strong as well," Hinata said confidently. "We all know how strong you are, Hinata. Just show him and your dad what you're made of," Kiba said, certain that she would give Neji a run for his money. "Sure thing, you can count on me. I brought Sakura and Ino with me so we can all spend some time together. You guys don't mind, do you?" Hinata said. She had been spending some time with both girls and they had been getting along just fine. She hoped that they all could become friends. "Of course we don't mind, Hinata. Sakura and Ino are welcome to join us. In fact, we should have invited everyone to begin with. Maybe we could meet again next week," Naruto said enthusiastically. He always wanted to have lots of friends ever since he started at the academy. They would be fellow shinobi, so it would be good if they all got along and trusted each other. And Naruto, I still need to apologize for everything I said and done to you in the past. Sakura said softly. Ino nodded as well. Stop it, both of you. The past is in the past, so leave it there. Naruto said, waving of their apology. He learned a long time to forgive and forget about such things. There were much more important things in life than childish arguments and stuff like that. But still I need to. Sakura started. Look, if you really want to apologize, then become the best kunoichi that you can become. That will be your way of apologizing, okay? Naruto interrupted her. Both Sakura and Ino nodded, and after that they started to talk amongst each other about the past year and about their teammates. Sakura and Ino told them about the missions they had done, and Team 8 told about their mission to the wave and how they fought Zabuza and Haku. At the end of the story, both Sakura and Ino sat there with their jaw almost on the ground. Their missions were nothing like that, they realized. No wonder the four of them had grown up so much and gotten so strong. Wow, the most we did was fighting some thugs and bandits. Even then, when we encountered some shinobi, they were low level or our sensei took care of them. Sakura said, impressed. Well, Kurenai and Anko sensei didn't have much choice then to let us fight. Zabuza and Haku were very strong opponents after all. Kiba said, trying not to sound too arrogant. Sakura, can I ask you something? What happened in the forest after the sound shinobi fled? Naruto asked curiously. He had noticed some changes in Sakura's behavior at the end of the second task. He saw Sakura getting nervous and quickly told her that she didn't have to answer if she didn't want to, but she shook her head and told him that it was all right. After you and the rest left, the three of us needed some time to recover from our injuries, so we set up camp by the river. We decided to stay there for a while, gathering our strength back. Sakura started explaining. The rest of them could tell that she wasn't comfortable talking about it, so Hinata took a seat next to her and put her hand on Sakura's shoulder, showing her support. Sasuke, however, didn't want to rest. Instead, he wanted to fight, but none of us was in any condition to do so. It took all of my strength to stay standing at that point. Sakura remembered those moments with a little shame. If only she had been stronger, she thought. He began to yell at us for being losers and weaklings, saying that the only thing we did was holding him back from reaching his goal and killing him. He warned us that if he didn't pass the second task because of us, we would regret it. She started shaking a little. Naruto was listening to her story and was thinking how he would kick Sasuke's ass when he saw him. The rest of them thought about the same thing. I had never seen Sasuke like that before. It was like he was a whole other person. He really scared me, and I have been keeping my distance from him ever since. Sakura finishing her story about what had happened in the forest. Sakura, don't listen to Sasuke. You're not a weakling and you're definitely not a loser. Tell me, what do you know about Sasuke's past? Naruto asked her. He felt the need to explain to Sakura and the rest about what had happened with Sasuke when he was younger. Both Ino and Sakura needed to understand that Sasuke wasn't the little prince everyone thought he was. If they wanted to become strong, they would have to overcome their obsession with him. When they told him that they didn't really know much about Sasuke and his past except that he was the only Uchiha left, he nodded and started to tell them about how Sasuke's brother Itachi had killed his whole clan except Sasuke several years ago. The fact that Itachi had told Sasuke to become strong so he could have his revenge messed with Sasuke's head and made him what he was today. Naruto carefully chose his words since he knew that both of them had a crush on Sasuke. He continued that the death of his family and how the village adored him for his bloodline had made Sasuke arrogant and hungry for power. Then there's the seal that Orochimaru gave him in the forest. That's not a normal seal, it's a seal that grants the user a huge power but at a terrible cost. Naruto finished. What do you mean with a terrible cost? Ino asked softly. In the past few minutes she had learned more about Sasuke than before. She thought it was horrible for a young boy to lose his whole family at the hands of his own brother. The seal is addictive, and each time you use it, it will eat away at your soul and try to influence you to do things you don't want to do. Naruto finished sadly. Anko had told him about people like Sasuke. They were the kind of people who would sell their soul to the devil if it meant that they would become stronger. So if Sasuke doesn't use the seal's power, he will be back to the old Sasuke. Sakura asked hopefully. Sakura, think about it for a second. When he activated the seal in the forest, he felt the power from the seal, and for someone like Sasuke who is always looking for power, it's too good to ignore. Naruto said softly. He hated to ruin Sakura's hope, but she needed to know this, he realized. The sooner she understood what kind of person Sasuke is, the better. Naruto is right, Sakura, and you know it as well as we do. We can only hope that the suppression seal that Kakashi placed on him will hold. But that seal depends on Sasuke's willpower. Anko said as she and Kurenai had arrived as well since they had a small break. They were very busy with preparations for the finals and securing the village as well. On top of that, they had to help Naruto and Hinata train, so their schedules were filled to the maximum. Anko-sensei, Kurenai-sensei, nice seeing you again. Ino said politely. She had heard a lot about both of them from her own sensei Asuma. He had told her that they were two of the strongest kunoichi in the village at this time. Anko and Kurenai greeted all of them and joined the discussion. Sakura and Ino listened at Anko's explanation and became somewhat sad that someone like Sasuke had to go through all this pain because of his brother. Anko then told them that while Itachi had a big influence on Sasuke, ultimately he was responsible for his own life and that he could have a lot more friendly instead of become a solitary loner who was distant from everybody. We can't just give up on Sasuke just because of this seal. Sakura said with some tears in her eyes. Who said anything about giving up on him? We take care of our own, and Sasuke is one of us no matter how much of an ass he is. Naruto said, trying to calm the girl down. The only thing we want to do is warn you about him so you can be prepared in case something happens. Kurenai added. Besides, can you actually say Sasuke is a good teammate or friend? He's a fellow shinobi, but he surely isn't a friend. Kiba said, trying to add his thoughts. Kiba is right, Sakura. Remember how you told me that Sasuke never helped you in all this time, nor has he ever acted as a friend. We're only trying to help you from getting hurt. Hinata said softly. We're not trying to say who you can or can't like, but we only want you to think about why you like that person and if he's worth the trouble and heartache. Naruto said, knowing that both girls thought the world of Sasuke. Ino and Sakura nodded, saying that they understood what everyone was trying to say and promised to do some thinking on the subject. Both girls had been shocked at how Sasuke had reacted in the forest and during the preliminaries. This would require a lot of soul searching, they realized, since both had been infatuated with the Uchiha for years. This would make getting rid of those feelings very hard for both of them. The 6 genin spend the whole afternoon talking and discussing things like training, the finals, and what they wanted in life. They told each other the dreams and hopes for the future. Suddenly Ino excused herself, saying that she needed to visit Chuji, who was admitted at the hospital after eating too much. The rest of the genin laughed at how typical this seemed to be for Chuji, whose world revolved around eating. When Ino mentioned the hospital, Naruto remembered about how badly Lee had been injured and how he was sure to be staying at the hospital as well. He felt bad about not visiting Lee until now, since he had gotten to know the spandex-wearing shinobi quite well during the days before the preliminaries, so he too stood up and told everyone that he was going to pay both Chuji and Lee a visit as well. That's an excellent idea, Naruto-kun. Why don't we all go together? Hinata said. She had been enjoying her afternoon very much, and visiting Lee and Chuji would be a very nice ending of a wonderful day. She too felt bad about both of them, especially about Lee, who was gravely injured during his fight with Gaara. As she remembered the fight between Gaara and Lee, she couldn't help but feel worried about Naruto. She really hoped Naruto would be okay. Even if her feelings about Naruto had changed, she still liked him as a teammate and close friend. Everybody thought that it was a really good idea, and they made their way over to the hospital, happily chatting and laughing along the way. A lot of people raised an eyebrow when they passed or saw the group of genin talking and having a good time like they didn't have a care in world. When they reached the hospital, they met up with Shikamaru, who had planned to visit Chuji as well, seeing as he was his best friend ever since they were young. Since they were now such a large group, they decided to split up, and while the girls would first visit Chuji, the guys would go see Lee, and then they would switch. After asking where Lee's room was, Kiba, Shino, Shikamaru and Naruto quietly went in search for the room. They had been warned not to make too much noise and not to disturb Lee for too long, since he still needed lots of rest. After searching for about a minute, Shino motioned that he had found Lee's room and quietly opened the door. When they entered the room, they were greeted with a scene that none of them had ever expected. Next to a sleeping Lee stood Gaara with a mouse smile on his face. Lee's body was covered in sand and it seemed like the sand was crushing him. The four genin immediately took action to save their comrade's life. Shikamaru used his shadow to trap Gaara so he couldn't move anymore while Shino and Kiba jumped in front of Lee ready to protect him. Naruto just appeared in front of Gaara and punched him as hard as he could in the face. "What the hell are you doing?" Naruto said, trying to calm himself down so he wouldn't engage the sand shinobi here and there. Gaara stumbled back a little from the sheer force of the punch. Unfortunately, Shikamaru, who had Gaara trapped, stumbled as well since he was connected to Gaara. "I'm proving my existence," Gaara simply said, not even nervous about the fact that he was facing four genin. "What's that supposed to mean?" Kiba yelled loudly. He was really nervous about this guy since Naruto told him how he felt about him. If Naruto, who wasn't afraid of anything, was wary about this guy, then he would have to be very careful. He had also seen him defeat Lee, so he knew how strong Gaara was. "I prove my existence by King," Gaara simply replied. He seemed completely unfazed by the thought of King. "Why? It can't be about revenge since you won the fight. So what's your reason for wanting to kill Lee?" Shikamaru asked, trying to figure out what the hell was going on here. "Revenge? I don't care about revenge or anything like that. I just want to kill him, that's all," Gaara said. "That's all? Do you understand what you're talking about?" Naruto said, feeling more and more anger toward the redhead. "If you think of stopping me from killing him, then I will not hesitate to kill you guys as well," Gaara remarked while staring and unleashing an amount of pure intent at the four of them. The four Konoha genin couldn't believe what they were hearing. Here was a guy who wanted to kill an injured comrade of theirs, and he would go so far as king them if they hindered him. "What kind of monster are you?" Kiba said when he felt the pure intent hit him. This was even worse than when they faced Zabuza for the first time. "Monster? I guess you're right. I was born a monster when I took the life of the woman who was supposed to be my mother. Tsuna, I'm a mistake from their past that they want to get rid of. Ever since my 6th birthday, my father had sent assassin after assassin trying to get me killed," Gaara said while trying to move out of Shikamaru's shadow bind. "Why would your own father do such a thing?" Kiba asked, perplexed. He couldn't imagine how it must feel knowing that your own dad is trying to kill you. "I carry a monster inside me. They tried to make me their weapon, but once they saw I was outside of their control, they tried to get rid of me. It's simple as that." Gaara shrugged. Naruto was shocked when he heard the Gaara's words about carrying a monster inside him. Was this boy a Jinchuriki like he was? If so, then what kind of life must Gaara have had to make him so twisted and psychological imbalanced? Naruto couldn't believe that Gaara's own father made a Jinchuriki out of his own son just for power. His dad had at least done it because he had no other choice to save the village. What kind of father would do that willingly to his own son, he thought. Kiba and Shino had about the same reaction Naruto and realized this was a very bad situation. If Gaara lost control, then the S would hit the fan pretty quick. They wondered how Naruto would react to Gaara being a Jinchuriki like himself. Somehow it seemed foolish to think that Naruto was the only with a demon sealed inside him, but none of them had ever thought about it. "You and me are a lot alike, more than you'll ever know. Like you, I'm hated and feared in this village, but not once in my life have they tried to get me killed. It was hard, wasn't it? The loneliness, the feeling that nobody want you, the pain of being rejected in everything you try to do. I know that pain very well. I know it so well that it actually hurt while I'm saying this, but you're wrong, Gaara. King people like that only proves them right," Naruto said softly. Gaara's eyes went wide when he heard the pain in Naruto's voice, and when he looked him in the eyes he recognized the same pain he saw every morning in the mirror. If this boy was telling the truth, then he was carrying a demon inside him as well. How was it possible that Naruto seemed so normal, like his demon didn't have any influence whatsoever? He needed to know what the boy's secret was. "How do you resist it? How do you ignore the stares and the hate?" Gaara demanded from Naruto. "It's simple. I resist thanks to my precious people. I fight to protect them from harm, and that makes me stronger," Naruto said, looking Gaara straight in the eyes. He wanted to show Gaara a way out of all the king and hate. "Prove it. When we fight, show me how strong you are and we'll see who's right then. The one standing at the end is right," Gaara said before breaking free of Shikamaru's jutsu. He ordered his sand back into his gourd and disappeared, leaving Naruto and the rest alone with an injured Lee. The four of them just sat down on the floor trying to catch their breath after such an intense conversation. Shikamaru was looking at Naruto and he was starting to connect the dots by what he had heard. He knew that Naruto wasn't well liked by the villagers and by some shinobi, but he didn't realize that things were that bad. He always was curious why Naruto was treated that way, and now he seemed to have heard and seen something that might explain everything to him. Gaara carried a demon or monster inside him, and Naruto told him that they were much alike. So did that mean that Naruto too carried a demon? He thought back, and the only demon he could think of that actually tried to destroy Konoha was the Kyuubi, but that was impossible since the Yondaime defeated the Kyuubi years ago. Then again, maybe it was covered up, and instead of killing the Kyuubi he sealed it away and thus saving the village at the cost of his own life. That had to be it. Now that he thought about it, there's absolutely no way a mortal could defeat a demon no matter how strong they are. But why keep it a secret? If Naruto did have the Kyuubi sealed inside him, then he would be saving Konoha every day of his life. Of course, people are idiots and they would only see the Kyuubi instead of Naruto. He thought. They would be afraid that the Kyuubi would get free, or they would remember their fallen family and friends and take it out on the child carrying the demon. Shikamaru sighed. This was way too troublesome to his liking. Guess you figured it out, huh, Shikamaru? Naruto said. So it's true. You carry the Kyuubi inside you. Why weren't we informed of this? Shikamaru said without any malice. He really didn't care about this. To him Naruto was Naruto, nothing more, nothing less. Naruto nodded and started to tell Shikamaru about how he found out about the Kyuubi, his parents and everything else. He felt like he could trust Shikamaru not to repeat his secret to anyone without his permission. He reminded Shikamaru also that everything he told him was an S-class secret, and if he told anyone he would be severely punished. After saying everything he wanted or needed to say, Naruto got up waiting for Shikamaru's reaction. This is so troublesome. Naruto, you can relax, your secret is safe with me. And I still see you as Uzumaki Naruto, my friend and fellow shinobi of the leaf. Shikamaru said while holding out his hand. Naruto looked surprised before he started smiling and shook Shikamaru's hand. He had found another friend that accepted him even when he knew about Kyuubi, and it made him really happy. Shino and Kiba were happy as well and thanked Shikamaru for being a good friend. A few moments later the girls who had finished visiting Chuji arrived, and when they saw the four of them slumped on the floor they asked what had happened, and so the guys had to tell what Gaara had tried to do and how they stopped him. They didn't tell anything about him carrying a demon or about Naruto's secrets. The girls were shocked at what had happened and felt relieved that they had visit Chuji first, otherwise they might not have been able to stop Gaara from King Lee. Slowly the boys got up and said that they would pay Chuji a quick visit before heading home. After they had finished visiting they made a promise to meet once a week so they could hang out and have some fun. They didn't know it yet, but those meetings became the foundation of a friendship that became legendary throughout the lands. This would be the start of what later would be called the Konoha 11 Feet, who would become some of the biggest heroes Konoha had ever known. Each member would be recognized as some of the strongest shinobi of Konoha, and they would be role models to kids for years to come. Finally the day of the finals arrived, much sooner and faster than most would have liked, and people all over Konoha were getting very nervous. Sarutobi, Sandaime Hokage, was standing on top of the Hokage monument and gazed over his village that was still in a peaceful slumber and sighed. He had been Hokage for many years and the feeling in his gut told him that maybe this would be the last sunrise he would ever see, so he enjoyed it to the maximum. The preparations for an eventual attack had been taken, but he knew from experience that no matter how much you prepare, something always goes wrong or not the way you planned. They had prepared an evacuation plan for the civilians, and several Chunin were standing by waiting for the order to get into action. They would be responsible for their protection. Other Chunin and some low-level Junin were dispersed all around town, hiding and waiting for any sign of an attack, and as soon as they got the signal that the innocents were safe they would start the counterattack. Most of the Junin and higher-level shinobi were positioned around the village and the stadium and were assigned to stop the invaders from advancing or retreating. They would hit hard and fast, just like in the old days. Sandaime closed his eyes and thought about the upcoming fight. He hated this part of being Hokage, the part where he had to order shinobi to fight in situations that might get them killed, but he realized that he had no choice. Just like himself, these brave shinobi would risk their life to protect their loved ones and their village. he expected no less from Shinobi of the Leaf. He then remembered a certain blonde-haired young genin who had been a grandson to him ever since the day he was born. He chuckled when he thought back at the days where Naruto would barge into his office asking if they could have ramen or him shouting that he would take his job. He truly hoped to see the day that Naruto became Hokage. It would bring him much joy and happiness. Unfortunately, Naruto was a little too young to become Godime Hokage, but maybe he could aim at the post of Rokudaime Hokage. Speaking of Godime Hokage, he had been trying to appoint a successor, but so far he hadn't found anyone that he could trust enough to become Hokage. He had briefly considered one of his old students, Jiraiya, but quickly dismissed that thought, knowing Jiraiya would never give up his Sannin status and settle down in the village. If he thought about it, there was only one he truly saw fit to become Godime, but she would be even more reluctant to take the position even if he did get her back into the village. Suddenly a noise behind him made him stop thinking, and he turned around when he heard a very familiar voice. "Hey Jichin, what are you doing here?" Naruto asked, surprised to find anyone here at this hour. "I'm just enjoying the sunrise and the beauty of our village, Naruto." "But what are you doing here?" Sandaime said, smiling. "Oh, I'm just here to calm my nerves a little. This place always helped me calm down, you know," Naruto said. "Nervous for your fight? I'm sure you will do well, Naruto. You've become so strong over the past year," Sandaime said, not used to seeing a nervous Naruto. "Oh, I know I got stronger, but my opponent is not a normal opponent, Jichin. He's like me," Naruto said softly. "Like you? Oh god, you don't mean he a Jinchuriki as well?" Sandaime said, shocked. Naruto nodded and then proceeded to tell what had happened at the hospital with Gaara and the conversation they had. Sandaime was shocked that the Kazekage would do such a horrible thing to his own son just for the sake of power. Where was the honor in condemning your own such to such a fate just for power? He would never understand that kind of logic. At least Minato had no other choice, and his reasons were honorable no matter how devastating the results. So you see, I want to show him that a shinobi only is truly strong when he's protecting those he loves. I just hope I'm strong enough to do it, Naruto said. Naruto, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that you will be able to show him what a true shinobi is like. I have the utmost confidence in you, so just give it your all, okay? Sandaime said and smiled when Naruto nodded. Well, guess I'll see you at the stadium, Jichin. I have to wake Anko-chan, otherwise she will sleep through the matches. Naruto joked and ran off home. You really are your father's son, Naruto, more than you'll ever know. I'm truly proud of you. Just show them who Uzumaki Naruto is and what he can do. Sandaime thought before he too left to get ready. He had some unfinished business that he had to take care of today. Several hours later, the stadium was packed with spectators that came to see the fights between the most promising genin that the villages had to offer. Between the crowd were several Anbu disguised as civilians. They would be the first line of defense if the stadium got attacked. Also of the Konoha genin who hadn't made it to the finals were gathered together and were anxiously waiting for their friends to start their matches. Sakura and Ino had gone early enough so that they could save seats for Tenten and Chuji. They would have saved a seat for Lee, but he was still at the hospital. The seats were right in front of the battlefield, so they would have an excellent view of the fight. Over the past month, the genin had become a group of close friends, except Neji, who seemed hostile towards Hinata, but she refused to explain why, saying that this was one thing that was between both of them. Still, she hoped that Neji would change after this match when she proved to him that she too was strong and a capable kunoichi. Naruto looked around and marveled at the stadium and all the people that had come to watch them fight. He could feel the adrenaline pumping and he was getting excited about fighting and showing them just what he was capable of. This was why he and Anko had worked so hard over the past year. Sure, becoming Chunin was a small step compared to becoming Hokage, but it was an important step nonetheless. His nervousness that he felt that morning seemed to have disappeared when he entered the stadium and he looked over at Anko, who was standing with Kurenai and the other Junin senseis. She had been very agitated about his fight with Gaara, and although she had utmost confidence in him, she still was a little scared of him being hurt or worse, killed by the Suna shinobi. Naruto had assured her that he would be fine and that she should be ready to cheer him on. Finally, all the genin, except Sasuke, who seemed to be late, had assembled at the center of the battleground so they could receive some last instructions. There had been a change since Dosu. The Soundnin had been killed during the month previous to the finals, so there would only be 5 matches. After that, they were to face the Hokage and Kazekage, who were sitting in a balcony just in front of them. The Hokage nodded and stood up, preparing to say a few words to the crowd and the genin. People of Konoha and esteemed guests, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the finals of the Chunin exams, he said while looking around in the crowd. Today, we will witness just how strong our respective shinobi are, and from their fights we will determine who of them is worthy of the being promoted to the rank of Chunin. I hope each and every one of you have an enjoyable day. He finished that part of his speech. He then turned toward the genin who would be fighting. A few words for our young contestants. You have made your village proud by advancing this far. Nobody can take that away from you, no matter if you win or lose today. Remember the following: a shinobi's strength isn't how many jutsus he knows, but how he uses them, and the reason why you fight. I wish you the best of luck in your matches, the Hokage said before sitting back down before the crowd erupted in applause and encouragements. Naruto and the other genin were instructed to leave the battleground, while both Hinata and Neji had to stay for the first match. Naruto, Kiba and Shino wished their friend good luck and went upstairs as well. They had confidence that Hinata would do well. Even if she lost the match, they all knew she had grown into a strong and capable kunoichi. Hinata and Neji made their way over to the middle of the field and stood in front of each other. Before the proctor could start the match, however, Neji started to say something. Hinata-sama, I would advise you to give up this fight. You're too weak to win this fight, he said arrogantly while sneering at Hinata. I will not give up this fight, Neji-ni-san. Besides, how do you know I can't win? She said, looking him straight in the eyes. She wouldn't back down from this fight or let him intimidate her any further. Fate decided that I would be the winner from the moment our match was drawn. You cannot change fate or destiny, he said, still sneering at her. Fate, destiny. And how do you know what fate or destiny has decided? Hinata said, already used to hearing Neji's logic. She had spent some time with Tenten after all. You're weak, Hinata-sama, you always were weak and you can't change that. I will show you the difference between us and display the foolishness of going against fate itself, Neji said before activating his Byakugan. Hinata responded by taking a stance for the original Yuken style, and she too activated her Byakugan. The proctor then started the match, and the two genin just jumped forward and started exchanging blows to each other. Neji started by aiming at her stomach with a textbook move, but Hinata quickly countered and retaliated by aiming a punch to his shoulder. Both of them kept trying to hit their opponent, but so far neither of them had landed a hit. Hinata kept advancing, trying to get the upper hand, and for a moment it seemed she was succeeding, but then she felt Neji hit a few tenketsu in her right arm, making her jump backwards to do some damage control. Lucky he had only sealed two of them, and she relaxed for a second, trying to catch her breath. Like she had expected, Neji was vastly superior to her in the Yuken style, but unlike before, she was able to see his attacks and counter them. Neji was seething inside. He had expected that Hinata would be a pushover, but so far she had done remarkably well. This wasn't the Hinata he remembered. That Hinata was a coward, a weakling, someone who was afraid to get hurt and to hurt others as well. The Hinata standing in front of him, however, was confident and had the skill to back it up. Nonetheless, he wouldn't lose to her. He was a genius of the Hyuga clan, even if he came from the branch family. He would observe for now and attack when the time was right. In the crowd, Hyuga Hiyashi, clan head and leader of the Hyuga, was watching the fight between his daughter and his nephew. He too had anticipated an easy match for Neji, even though he had noticed that Hinata had been making excellent progress with the Yuken when they sparred. He was surprised to see his daughter fight in such a straightforward way. He knew she hated to inflict pain on others, especially friends or family. Next to him sat his youngest daughter Hanabi, who was watching with big eyes at how her sister was holding her own against Neji. When she had to spar against him, she didn't last very long, and now her older sister was doing better than her, even when she had been labeled weak and unfit to be a kunoichi. Go, Hinata. Kick his ass and show them what you got. Naruto, Kiba and Shino exclaimed, showing their support. Hinata smiled and rushed forward to launch the next series of attacks upon Neji, who was waiting for her. She started out with some standard Yuken moves which Neji blocked without a problem, but all of the sudden Hinata grabbed his arm and pulled him closer, making her knee connect with his outer thigh of his left leg. The hit had come unsuspected, and it would restrict Neji's movements for just a moment. While Neji was cursing, Hinata advanced once again and hit 2 pressure points in his right arm. Neji then jumped back and quickly rubbed his leg, making the pain go away. It seems your aim is a little off, Hinata-sama. You didn't hit any tenketsu at all, Neji said. He was going to continue his rant, but then his right arm started to hurt pretty badly, making him wince. Who said I was aiming at your tenketsu? Hinata just answered. The pressure points she had hit would give Neji a fierce pain for a few minutes, but other than that there wouldn't be any effects. Neji frowned before trying to move his right arm, only to find that it hurt like hell and that he couldn't move his arm at all. He wondered what Hinata had done, but figured that the pain would soon be over. He would need to take some distance until the pain went away. Hinata, however, wouldn't stand around doing nothing and charged him head on. She delivered blow after blow, and Neji was finding himself hard-pressed to defend himself with only one arm. He ducked under a yuken punch by crouching low, but what happened next shocked him to the core. Hinata had moved closer and just planted her knee right into his face, knocking him back before she followed up with a hard punch in the gut and hitting a few tenketsu and pressure points as well. Unfortunately for Hinata, who was planning to hit him in the face, Neji regained control of his arm and blocked her punch before jumping back. That wasn't a yuken attack. Are you that weak that you need to resort to another taijutsu style to defeat me? Neji sneered at her while he tried to clear his head from the blow he received. What? Is there some rule that Hyuga can only fight by using the yuken? I'm a kunoichi of the leaf, and as a shinobi I use everything that might win me the match. Hinata answered calmly. Use whatever you want, but you won't win against me. I said it already, you were destined to lose this match, Neji said arrogantly. Hinata just ignored his words and slowly started advancing towards her cousin. She had closed a few tenketsu and hit several pressure points in his right leg, but unlike before, these would hinder him for at least half an hour. They would slow him down a little, making the match a little more even for her. Even with all the training she had done in the past month, Neji was still faster than her, and the fact that he was better at yuken put her in a difficult situation. She was only slowly getting comfortable with her own style of taijutsu, and it was still far from perfect, even if she had proven that it worked very well. She would have to catch him off guard if she wanted to have a chance to defeat him. Neji saw his cousin slowly coming towards him and prepared by taking a stance, but he cursed when he felt a sharp pain in his right leg. The pain was very similar to the pain he felt in his arm, and he assumed that it would go away in a few minutes. Still, the pain would slow him down, so he would have to be careful. He wouldn't take any more chances in this match. Hinata had now approached him enough that he could attack her, but he opted to wait and let her attack, waiting for the pain to disappear. Suddenly Hinata shot forward and threw a punch at his face, which he blocked with his right arm before throwing a punch at her midsection. Hinata saw the punch coming and just twisted on her feet, elegantly evading the punch. She did a small spin and aimed to hit Neji from the side. Neji, however, just smirked and unleashed his next attack. He just started turning like a toll and yelled out, "Kaiten," making a large blue dome-like structure appear around him. Hinata, who was too close to evade it, crashed right into it and was flown across the field. The crowd was shocked into silence at seeing these two genin fight so seriously, and almost all of them held their breath to see how the fight would end. One person, however, was even more shocked than all the rest. Hyuga Hiyashi couldn't believe what he just saw. A branch member had learned one of the secret techniques of the yuken that normally only were taught to members of the main family. This meant that Neji had learned it on his own, which baffled him. He was more than a little shocked at how Hinata was doing in this fight. She had shown him that she was way more talented than that he had thought she was. Maybe he would have to review his opinion about his oldest daughter, he thought. Naruto and the rest were worried about their friend. None of them had known that kind of technique existed and that Neji was able to use it. From what they had seen, Hinata had collided with the chakra dome, sending her across the field. They hoped that she would be okay and uninjured enough to continue the fight. They had been glad to see how well Hinata had been doing in her match. All of them knew how scared and nervous she had been, but it seemed that Hinata had made up her mind and was fighting to win. They couldn't be more proud of her even if she lost the fight. Hinata opened her eyes and slowly and painfully got up to her feet. She had taken a heavy blow and knew that she could afford to take another hit like that again. Never had she expected that her cousin knew the kaiten, since branch members weren't taught how to do it. She coughed up some blood and wiped her mouth while slowly trying to regain her strength before Neji attacked her again. She didn't need to worry since he was waiting for her with an arrogant smile on his face. When she felt good enough to continue, she stood up straight and motioned to him that she was ready. I will finish this match now, Hinata-sama. You're within my field of divination, Neji said while taking a stance. Hinata recognized the stance and she got ready to defend herself. Haka Rokujuyan Sho. Neji just started attacking, aiming to hit Hinata's tenketsu, which would prevent her from using chakra for some time. Hinata, however, wouldn't just stand there and be hit. She had developed her own technique which would help her block all of Neji's hits. Shugo Haka Rokujuyan Sho. She started moving her arms in front of her at high speed, making a blue chakra shield appear in front of her, blocking every one of Neji's attacks. When Neji finished his attack, he couldn't believe what had happened. Hinata had somehow succeeded in blocking every one of his attacks with a technique he had never seen or heard about. He stood shocked, not even noticing that Hinata was advancing towards him ready to attack. Hinata, who had seen that Neji was temporarily distracted, moved on instinct and started attacking him. She closed as much tenketsu as she could and hit several very painful pressure points on the joints of his arms and legs. She was breathing very heavy after her attack, and she had used most of her remaining chakra while doing the Shugo Haka Rokujuyan Sho, so she knew that this was the end of the match for her. Neji, who saw his final attack being blocked, barely registered Hinata's onslaught on his body until he became aware of the sharp pains in his body. He dropped to his knees before falling face down in the dirt. When he tried to get back up, he screamed slightly in pain caused by Hinata's attack. How? What was that technique? He managed to say. It was my own original technique that I made it with the help of my team. For years I saw myself as weak and pitiful, but my team helped me get stronger. They helped me create my own style of taijutsu since I find the yukan unnatural to me. So I started on creating my own style, a style suited for me, and even though it's far from finished, you have seen and felt the results. Hinata said while dropping down to one knee. You created your own style. Impossible, someone like you couldn't do such a thing. Neji said, not believing a word he heard. Believe whatever you want, Neji-ni-san. I know now that I'm not weak like you or my dad used to tell me. I trained hard and long just to show you that I too can be strong. Hinata said while breathing heavy. She was starting to lose consciousness from chakra exhaustion. Destiny decided that I would win, yet this happens. Why? Neji mumbled. Destiny and fate do not concern themselves with a fight like ours. My team taught me that destiny and fate is what you make of it. They showed me that if you work hard for something, you can defy them and make your own destiny. Hinata said, falling down on her back before losing consciousness with a small smile on her face. She had shown him that she too was strong, and in the end that's all she wanted. She didn't care about winning or losing the match. The proctor who had allowed them to finish their conversation went over to check on both of them. He took a good look at Neji and saw that he was unable to continue the match. He had a good idea what the girl had done with her last attack, so he was sure that Neji was in no condition to fight. He then made his way over to Hinata and couldn't help but smile at the young girl who had fought so bravely against someone who was considered a genius and had managed to fight him to a standstill. Seeing that she had lost consciousness, he stood up and lifted his hands. Both fighters are unable to continue the fight. I hereby declare this a draw. He yelled out to the spectators. The people in the stadium went crazy, shouting and yelling their support and admiration for both Neji and Hinata. The match had been more than satisfying in their eyes, and they showed it. In the stands, Hyuga Hiyashi slowly got up and told his youngest daughter that they were going to see both Neji and Hinata in the sickbay. Hanabi nodded. She was impressed with the skills and techniques her sister had shown during the fight. She was sure now that Hinata was far from a weakling that she thought she was. Hiyashi too thought the same thing, and he would have to congratulated his daughter for fighting so well. They walked in silence, each thinking of how to address Hinata when she woke up. Naruto and company were cheering the loudest of all. Hinata had done it. She had shown just how strong she truly was, and everybody had seen it. Kurenai and Anko were very proud of the young protégé and vowed to let her know just that. The rest of the Konoha genin were shocked to see Hinata fighting this fiercely. Sakura and Ino knew that they would have to train very hard if they wanted to become as strong as Hinata was. After a few minutes, the crowd had calmed down and were waiting eagerly for the next match to start. The proctor named Genma went to the middle of the field and waited for a sign from the Hokage saying that it was okay to start the second match. Sandaime nodded and Genma called him down to the field. We will now start the second match. Will Uchiha Sasuke and Sabaku no Kankuro please come down? He yelled. Hearing the name Uchiha, most of the spectators began to cheer since the Uchiha name was famous in all the shinobi lands as one of the strongest clans. They were sure that the last Uchiha would provide them with a very good show. Naruto just frowned at the attention Sasuke received just because of his name. Most of the spectators didn't know anything about Sasuke or had ever seen him fight, and yet they considered him the best there was. Kankuro made his way down expecting the Uchiha to follow him, but strangely he arrived alone in front of the proctor. The crowd was getting restless when they saw that Sasuke wasn't there. Genma frowned and decided to call again. But before he could do so, Chunin appeared in front of him saying that Sasuke hadn't arrived yet and that the match would be postponed until later. Genma raised his eyebrows at that, since normally said Genin would have been disqualified, but he guessed that because it was an Uchiha who was late. God knows how much privileges that gave him. Frankly, it disgusted him, but there was nothing he could do about that. Lass and gentlemen, Uchiha Sasuke has yet to arrive, so we'll go straight to the third match. The second match will be fought afterwards. Will Sabaku no Gaara and Uzumaki Naruto please come down? Genma said. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.